movie. It's not a very good day for beekeeping. It's a very low temperature outside, not a good day for opening a hive. But we're going to take a very quick look. The fortunate thing is that I already have some boxes of honey in the kitchen ready to do the processing. Now, besides a couple of adult suits, I've got a couple of children's suits. And this likely would very nicely fit Ella.
I think so too, yeah.
And especially when somebody's here to take pictures, you'd like to have some really good-looking young lady model the suit.
What do you think, Ella?
Is she smiling with her eyes while she's saying no with the rest of her head? You sure? I mean, look at this.
There's some butterflies on there, Ella.
Look at that.
Try to match the butterfly in your...
And it's just your size.
Oh, it doesn't have a plain one.
I'm not going to make you wear it. I just wanted to give you the opportunity. How many young people have ever gone beekeeping?
Exactly.
And while they might have had a chance to look at bees and whatever, to actually put on a beekeeping suit.
Right.
Wow.
I know.
You know, a bit too big. What we're going to do, I'm going to put a suit on, and we're going to go out, and I will show you basically what I do. Now, I don't know whether I'm going to take the lid off, and you all can stand back at respectful distance, and we'll see what the reaction of the bees is as I take the lid off. And if I can, I'll go far enough to actually take a frame of honey out. But I'm thinking, I just want you to at least see how a hive goes together, and then we will come in and we'll extract the honey. When a bee gets excited, gets angry, and basically honeybees that would sting are female bees. They can fly at 25 miles an hour. Now, I used to be a very avid runner. And I remember that back in about 1981, I ran a mile at the fairgrounds in 5 minutes and 35 seconds. You look like you might have been a runner at one time too.
Yeah.
You're the right size and build.
No, not
Okay,
good.
25 miles an hour. Now I know that maybe for a second or two I could hit that speed, but not for a distance. But when that bee starts coming at me, I'm totally convinced that I can set a new world record. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now here's the important thing you should know. Two things about bees. When a bee starts coming at you, you should not start doing this. This just gets the bee angry. That doesn't help. It hurts. It just gets them agitated. What you should do, because bees, well, they can see, they've got eyes, they can see, but they're following you not so much with their eyes, but with their smell. And what they're smelling is the CO2, the carbon dioxide that you are exhaling. So when you're running a world record quarter mile, or 100 yards, or 40 yards, or 10 yards, stop breathing. Okay, that's ridiculous. But in point of fact, if you're trying to get away from the bees, don't do this, and stop, hold your breath while you're moving away, okay? Yeah.
Good idea.
That dramatically improves your odds of not getting stung. Don't do this.
That's the first thing to do.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, and it's also kind of natural to keep on breathing. So you have to make a conscious effort not to do this and to not do this.
Excellent.
Okay. Which means winter. Hibernate means we go to sleep. And with bees, no, but with wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, and all of those other cousins, the queen hibernates and the rest of the colony dies. With bees, they collect honey and they eat the honey, and you know they've got muscles that flap those wings. Well, they can hold the wings and not flap them, but they're flexing the muscles, like we might flex our shoulder muscles without moving our arms. And by flexing those muscles, they release heat energy, and that's how they keep the hive. It might be 20 degrees or 10 or 0 outside. It's, about 70 degrees inside the hive. But it's body-to-body contact. They're not heating space like we heat a building, okay? But it's body-to-body contact, okay? So these are called coveralls. It's very much like the suit that somebody else is not going to wear. You're thinking, well, why don't I have a floral suit? Sure.
I think you have a volunteer, except for the butterflies.
One advantage of having an all-white suit is that when I'm outside and it's 80, 85, 90 degrees, this is cooler because it doesn't absorb sunlight. And I keep these practically continuously every week from the middle of March until the middle of November. A good part of that is during the hot season, when one wants to stay cool. Now, if I were really, really afraid of crawling bees, I would have put on some boots that come up to here, and then I would tie my legs off so they couldn't crawl up my legs, but that almost never happens. So I'm not worried about it today. Okay. All right. Now, if a person gets stung in the face, or especially in the eye, you could be blinded. If you get stung in the face, it's even more uncomfortable. So it's a good idea to wear a veil. And these suits, as you can see, all have veils as part of them. And the veil has tie cord. I'll have to figure out why that one has lost its tie cord. Okay, now when we go into a hive, we like to do it with smoke. As a human person, if you're in your house and you start smelling smoke, you're thinking, uh-oh, the place is on fire. I better find the fire and put it out, or get out of the house. Apparently, we don't know exactly, nobody's talked to me to say, why are you doing this? But apparently when we smoke a hive and they smell the smoke, they go up to where the honey is stored and begin to load their special stomach in order to evacuate the hive. While they're doing that, it's less likely that they're going to think about me, you see? So using smoke gets them busy thinking about and doing something else so that I can come in and not have to worry so much about them coming after me. All right? These gloves are made of canvas and leather. This part is leather. This is kind of and it has a breathable patch so the suit gets warm. Before I put them on, I'm going to light a fire. We're not going to need a lot, so I'm just going to use a little bit. These are strips of cardboard, and the grain of the cardboard is such that when I roll it up, all these things act like chimneys. I don't want to cut it the other way because it won't burn as nicely. I'm giving you a lot of extra detail. The benefit of having done this so many years is one knows where we're going. And this is known as a smoker. A smoker. The smoker has a fire chamber and it has a bellows. And I take the lid off. All right, here comes the fire. Watch out. I don't usually light a fire in the building, but it's cool outside. We're just getting warmed up here, so to speak.
Isn't this amazing? Now, do you remember why do we smoke the hive?
Because it makes the bees think something is on fire,
Listen. bees go.
and they get busy doing something else.
They fly out to the honeycomb.
And I'm using the bellows to put air in there to get this fire burning.
See this cleaner? Is it working? Is the smoking working? It's working. It's like grandma's stove in a way, isn't it?
Something like that. It's not lighting as easily as I would like. Sometimes it really takes off.
That is the trickiest little thing I've ever seen.
All right, so we put the lid back on. And notice,
Look at that, watch. See that?
I can put the smoke wherever I want. I'm not going to blow it in anybody's face. All right. We're about ready. There's my gloves. And this is called a hive tool, and it's used for getting things apart.
This is exciting.
Look at Ella. She's taking my picture, but she wouldn't let me take her picture in that world. Okay.
See how he rolls up his sleeves? And puts the glove over the top
Put the
of the
sleeve,
sleeves.
put the glove on over the other. And notice that each of these two children's outfits has similar gloves to put on. Okay. I think our fire is still going. Hope it keeps on going. And let's go outside.
Will that let anything happen to you?
Just know what the temperament of the bees is.
Check out the bees.
I'm going to go get my, can you say? All right. So I'm going to roll up another piece of cardboard and give it a light. I see this is still burning, but it's not producing as much smoke as I'd like to have. So,
Father, are these the only hives that you have now, or you have them someplace else?
I have 10 or 11 hives at the Ox Fruit Farm on 188. And they enjoy having them there because they pollinate fruit trees. And they also have a vegetable garden, which does wonders for their vegetable garden. Come on now.
Okay, that's fine. You can kneel down. You can sit on the ground if you want to. That's it. There you go. That might be more relaxing. That's a good idea.
Don't usually have this much trouble getting a fire to go, but some days it's just hard to get out of bed, isn't it? Yeah. Doing a little better here, doing a little better. Okay, here we go. We're going to take the lid off, but I'm going to start. Notice how I'm pumping the smoke out. I'm going to start down here at the doorway. Let them know I'm going to come in. I'm hearing them buzzing in reaction. Who's doing that? Who's doing that? Okay. And as I take the lid up, I put smoke in under the lid in case there are bees right there on top. There are bees right there on top. Now this is an inside cover, so as I take it up, we put more smoke in under the cover. Hello, ladies. I call them ladies because worker bees are all ladies. See that? See the bees on there?
If we had suits on, we could look, but we can't. We can be a little bit taller. We can't do that. Next time. This is a start.
And the bees are moving downward away from the smoke, and I can see that a bunch of them have their noses stuck into the cells where they're taking out honey in case they need to evacuate because the house is burning. And I don't know that I'm actually going to take one of these frames in, but I want you to see what they look like right here. Okay. So the bees are very quiet. None of them are flying at me. None of them are flying at me. So if you'd like to come over, feel free to come over. Because bees can chill. It's not good for them to chill. Basically a hive could be one box, or two, or three, or four. Typically, the bottom box is deep, maybe the second box is, and after that, shallow. This is shallow, this is deep. Typically, they put the egg laying and the brood in the bottom box, and they put honey above that. Okay, we're not having any trouble. A box has four sides, but there's nothing here. These are frames. These are frames that hang in the box, and you'll see this when we go inside. I've got 3 boxes sitting there waiting to have honey extracted. But just so you can see here. There's a little ledge right here, and there's a little ledge right here, and these little ends hang on that ledge. And there are 10 frames lined up. And there's enough space between these frames that a bee can climb through there. And there's a certain amount of honey right there. And honey here, but this honey isn't capped. It's not ready to harvest yet. It's not ready to harvest yet. Just a second. Okay, I'm going to tighten that up. I'm going to show you, I'm going to pry up one more box and just show you the bottom side of the box, and then we're going to put it back together and go inside. Okay?
Wow.
The next box is the same way. It has 10 frames. They're hanging on the little ledge. This is the bottom side. You saw the top side. Okay, these are 10 frames hanging in here. And this is the remnant of a pest treatment. Little things like mites and beetles and whatever. So in the fall, beekeepers put a pest treatment in there to take care of that. So you get the idea. 10 frames here. This box sits on top of that box, sits on top of that box, sits on top of that box, sits on the bottom board. And each box just has 4 sides. There's no top or bottom to the box. They just sit there, and they're not nailed down or glued down or anything, although the bees put some wax between them to kind of make them sticky and hold them there. But
So how tall could you make that? How many layers?
I don't want to get much taller than this. If this box were full of honey, it would weigh 30 pounds.
Just that one box.
One box.
Is this the norm size, basically, what you have here?
Yes. I can feel somebody at my right ankle. I hope it's not a stinger, but it may be.
Okay, let's back up now. Let's back up. Back up.
Okay,
Get Father's face.
there we go. There we go.
Now what do we do?
We're gonna go inside. We're gonna pretend that we actually took some of those frames that had honey in them, but they weren't ready to harvest. But I've got some that I've just taken a couple days ago from the hive. It's sitting there waiting for us.
Do you want to go stand over there by
So-
Father for just a minute? Just stand real close. Jump, get a picture. Turn.
You've got a honeybee on your.
William Carter, turn around here.
Let your best side face the camera.
Look at Grandma. You
He's,
guys.
he's not thinking that the back of his head is his best side.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Get all the honey out. And some of it is still draining down, and there's a spot on the floor. Do you want to get down there and lick that up? No, you don't.
Yeah!
No, you don't. I'm just kidding. Come on in.
I told you he was a trigger.
All right. Feels like that has already been extracted. Okay. I'm going to set it down here though. There's a frame. These have already had their honey taken out. I had forgotten that. Pretty sure that they had. Yes, and then extracted. These have not been extracted. And before I begin to extract, I'm going to drain some honey out of this pan. Into this screen, it's a double screen.
Come on over.
In its very natural state. This beeswax that has been taken off of frames, we call it uncapping, because when bees put honey in the comb, they cap it off. In order for me to get it out, I have to uncap it and then put it in this device, which spins it around and it extracts it, it drains down. And then I run it through this double screen to take out the particles of wax. And then I put the bucket up here and I begin to fill jars. Do I have jars? So I want each one of you to fill a jar. Okay. And get the sticky off my fingers. By the way, when we're processing honey, we don't usually use any heat. Honey has a natural, it has an enzyme in it. It keeps bacteria or viruses from growing in it. And the honey that I pour down there is ready to pour into a jar, except it hasn't been screened yet. But if I were wanting to have some sweetness in my mouth, you didn't see that, did you? Watch this. Well, you sure talk a lot with your eyes. Okay. In order to uncap, we're now going to do it. Now, in order to uncap, I plug in this knife. And this knife is not only sharp, it also gets hot. It can burn you. But the reason it gets hot is so that it will help in getting through the wax. Okay, so I'm going to go into this box and take out a frame of comb honey. Here we go. There it is. Okay, that's comb honey. It's honeycomb. Now they could raise young bees in that. They could store pollen in it. But we're looking at comb that has nothing but honey, and it's been capped off. It won't drain out of there until we take the caps off. This frame has 3 pounds of honey in it. So 10 frames, that's 30 pounds in that box.
And that's all wax?
Well, I take the wax caps off, and this is loaded with honey. Okay. So we start here. This knife is getting, it's not real hot yet, but it's getting there. And notice that as I come up through there, the blade cuts through okay. And what's falling off is the cap. We call it uncapping because it was capping, and now it's not capping, it's uncapped. Okay, so I've done one side. Now the honeycomb doesn't go through. There's a wall between the two sides. So I have to take the comb and turn it over and uncap the other side. Now sometimes the comb is very even surfaced, and when you run the knife up there, you get every bit of the cappings off. But as you can see, sometimes the caps aren't evenly surfaced, and so I have to come back with the edge of my knife, with the corner of my knife, and get the remainder of the cappings that didn't come off the first time.
Now all that glitter I see is honey. Shiny.
Yes, it is. Some of these dots you see here are actually cells that have some pollen in them. And the bees don't make any huge effort not to let some pollen get in the honey. So if honey is in its natural state, even after I uncap it and run it through the filter, it has a certain amount of pollen in it. Okay. When I've taken one frame, this extractor holds 3 frames. So in order to have a balanced load, and you mothers know what it means to have a balanced load. If you have an unbalanced load, like you've got, a pair of athletic shoes in the washer that you're doing, and the machine will jump around. Well, I have to have frames that are fairly equal in weight, and I can't do 1 frame at a time. I've got to do 3. And we're only going to do 3 frames, and that'll exceed the patience of the audience. There's one down and 2 to go.
Uncapping. This is called uncapping. Uncapping. It's all that wax on it.
Notice how it's coming off of here. There are things known as wax moths that lay eggs, and they produce wax worms, which are good for fishing, but I'm not going to go fishing today. There they are. I've just pulled a couple of them out of there. Well, you can raise them in a variety of ways. You don't have to have a beehive to do it. Don't need to have a beehive. Okay.
How many bees, when you're actually making the honey, how many bees at a time? How many boxes or 5?
I might do 3 or 4 boxes, and that's about an hour's worth of activity, and that's enough.
That's very tedious.
Now think about this. Last year, me and my partner Tom Tobin, you know Tom Tobin, we produced more than 500 pounds of honey. 500 divided by 30 is how many boxes? Uh,
Or is that better?
that was way over. That was a record for us. Okay. Notice on this side that there's a fair amount of pollen. The dark spaces are where the honey is, and those things that are lighter are where pollen is filling those cells. Some of the pollen will come out with the honey, but most of it will stay. Most of it will stay in the frame. Okay. That's frame number 2.
So when, I've seen places where you buy a honey comb.
Boom.
So what would you do, just,
There are different styles of boxes for producing honeycomb. I could take these and I could cut that out of there, etc. It's far more efficient for producing honey if you have frames that you uncap and then you put the comb back in the hive and then refill it. Like we used to take bottles back to the pharmacy and get them refilled. We don't do that anymore. If you don't take it back, if I took a pound of honey that's in the comb, the wax doesn't weigh very much. If I take it out of there, in order for the bees to put a pound back, they have to produce all that wax. There goes 1/3 of the honey crop producing the wax. So you diminish the crop significantly by taking the comb away. I know people really, really enjoy it.
Well, I don't know what it was, I'm not gonna waste.
But it's fun.
We're probably gonna do that, what comes next? It's gonna uncap it, takes a hot knife. All wax, see, that's like candy. And
In just a minute, we're going to put the 3rd frame in the extractor, and then we're going to turn the extractor on.
do you do anything with the wax?
Yes.
So that where candles come from?
Well, that's.
Not ours necessarily, but.
I've got wax over there that I'm getting ready to process. Basically, I will take this wax, I try to drain as much honey out of it as I can. And then I will put it in a screen like this, and I will run hot water through it to wash out as much residue honey as didn't come out. And then I will take it over there and I will melt it. And the wax floats on top and other things are below it. So I let it solidify, I take the wax off, and then I can, you see right there on the edge of the counter, I've saved some of the containers that my cat food came in, and I pour the wax into those containers. You see those two piles of wax and 3 piles of wax? Well, that's pure beeswax. Yes, that's pure beeswax. And that's more or less the natural color of it, unless you run it through a bleaching process.
That's what, see this? That's what's in there. This is how, see how clean and beautiful? That's not beautiful.
I'm glad somebody's asking questions. Okay. One more side, and then we're ready to turn the extractor on. Nope, it's not very loud. It spins, makes a little noise. Almost.
Now look, don't touch it. See this? That's each. See how that is in there?
Somebody took her jacket off. Okay. That's the 3rd and final frame that we're going to do today.
How many will that hold? How many does
This
that-
holds only 3 frames. It's a 3-frame extractor. And with 3 frames, we presume that if the frames have about the same amount of honey, that the load is balanced.
And where does it come out?
It'll come out this gate valve down here, which will let you get a closer view out in a moment. All right. And since I'm done with the knife, I'm going to unplug the knife. You can see some hot honey smoking off the knife blade. It's hot. You can see it buzzing up there. I'm going to rinse the sticky off my hands. We don't run it out until we're ready to run it out. We let it accumulate. Well, I could run it out. Okay. So I bring this over, and I open the cake valve, and the honey runs out. The honey runs out. Typically in places like Kansas and Nebraska, whatever, they have large fields planted in order to raise either the alfalfa or clover for the sake of feeding cattle, or, even more likely, they're raising it to produce seed that other farmers can plant next year. But to do it properly, they have to have bees who will pollinate. If plants aren't pollinated, they won't produce as much seed. So you have hives there, and the only nectar they're gathering is clover nectar, which is why you get clover honey. I can't tell you the whole variety of things. Your question is? I can't quite remember the ones in the extractor. I call this all summer honey. This might have started with beautiful white blossom of poison ivy in the spring. Don't worry, you're not going to get poison ivy. Because bees are out there gathering nectar. The reaction to poison ivy is from touching the leaves. It may be with the stem too. And raspberry bushes, and poplar trees, and clover and grass. This is a goldenrod. We're going to have a goldenrod here. Okay, we're going to stop. And in order to get all the honey out, I have to take, I uncapped two sides. So I've spun it, and I've taken the honey out of one side, but the other side still has the honey in it. So I have to take it out, turn it over, and put it back with all three frames. Take it out, turn it over, put it back. I don't remember exactly who gave me this extractor, but I was the associate pastor at St. Mary, and the year was about 1979 or 81, and it was well used then. And it wasn't motor driven. It wasn't motor driven. It had a hand crank out here. So I would have to do all of this, and then I'd have to stand here and do this. All right, so then I'm assigned to St. Francis in Newark. And I'm just there a short time, and I've relocated my hives. And I'm out walking the neighborhood one day, and lo and behold, I see sitting by the curb where they were trash picked up, an old clothes dryer. And I said, clothes dryer turns at about the same rate. So I came back and I took off the motor and the pulleys, and I built this wooden attachment here, and there you go. This dates to about 1982. This winter I'm going to totally refurbish this, and I'm probably going to paint it with a very nice food grade epoxy. I think I got all three, or was I not paying attention?
Oh, you did, yeah.
I was listening to the speaking. All right, let's go.
You bless her every once in a while, you'll keep going.
And I would make a guess. At the moment, you can see how deep the honey is in the bottom in the bucket. I would say you're looking at close to 10 pounds in there. If I could actually get it all out, it's about 10 pounds. So we're doing all right. A little bit of that was there. It wasn't completely dry when we started. We'll drain some more of this freshly harvested honey out of the bucket. Ah, look. We've been here 55 minutes, give or take. We're just about ready. Well, while that's happening, oh well. Well, that's happening. Over here. There it is. Jars. There's the jars. We're done. Just to be a neat housekeeper, I'm going to take these 3 frames and I'm going to put them in this box. They're done. Notice that the pollen is still in the frame. See the pollen. Well, the bees will take it out. I'm not worried about getting it out. Another lesson and answer to that is I have methods for collecting pollen from a hive as it comes in the door, but that won't be today. More. 3, 6, 7, 8. Well, we'll need one more frame to fill that box back up, but that's okay. Okay. And close the gate. I'll let the dripping stop. I'm going to watch it sticky off my fingers again.
Carter, honey, you're coming, come this way. Carter, we're gonna take a picture. This picture has to take a picture.
Okay. And when it stops dripping, you take a plate like this. And I put the plate here because you know it's going to drip again. Put the plate down there to catch the drips. And I bring this up here.
Twice as much as it.
All right. Okay, who wants to run out the first jar? Okay. Now you're not going to have enough time to practice this. Why don't you just hold on to the jar? And what we want to do,
You go there, my brother.
let me move the jar a little bit. Good. Okay, hold it right there. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. And it takes practice, but you have to know when to close the gate. That's enough. You got it.
William, you stay right there. See, Potter, step back and get instructions. Stay back.
Stand behind me.
Okay? Just because I got a trifle amount on the edge, I wiping that off. Now we're going to walk over here. Well, we're not, I think that's probably somebody else's. Oh, why not? Why not? Okay. This lid, every one of these lids has a seal on it. And when you put the seal on top of the jar, when you finally turn it down tight, the seal will, so that when somebody buys this, they have to take the lid off, peel the seal off, and put the cap back on. You can put the lid on the jar. Oh. You did that deliberately, I can tell. Okay. Turn it down now. Go ahead. Good enough. All right. Now watch. This is kind of a technical project. There's okay, I don't know, I must have said something. We put two labels on. This is the front label. Honey, Father Gideon's Golden Local Honey. And, pardon me, over here. And we'd like to have a proper ingredient label. Nutrition facts. Usually my partner does this. I'm not real good at the label process. I'm good at the running it in process. Here we are. There's your jar. Okay.
This is my job.
Did you sit in here with special words?
There's a little drip on the counter, and I'm not going to let it go to waste. Too late. Okay. Let me see if I
Water, wait for instructions.
All right. You can hang on to the jar. I'm going to open the gate. Open the gate, and the honey comes out. And I can run it real slow, or I can run it real fast. And it comes up, and it comes up, and it comes up. And you have to know when to shut it off. I'd like to be sure it's up into the neck of the jar. Okay. Now wait till the dripping stops. In fact, when I'm doing these one after the other, the dripping stops, and when I've seen it drip and it, okay, then I move the next jar in. See how? Okay, we bring this over. Think you can put that lid on that jar? All right, that seems to be tight. I lay it down. I get the label. Father Gideon's Golden Local Honey. I really like the label very much from 2 years ago, and I'm going to see if we can produce that Gideon's Gold. Okay, and then the ingredient label, which goes on the back.
What did you say, Carter?
There you go.
Carter, I didn't hear anything. What louder? Louder.
You're welcome. Who's next? Okay, Ella's decided that she's going to be last. You're next. Okay. Come on. Hold on to the jar. Hold on to the jar. Good. Okay, loosen the bolts.
That's for you.
And we can run it slow.
Daddy can have that one, or you and Daddy.
Coming up to the top, slowing it down. Slowing it down.
Be careful.
Slowing down. Okay, maybe that's the last drip, maybe it's not. Okay, I get the other jar ready and remove this one away. Set that one there. That way you don't have to keep wiping drips off the counter. No, we're gonna move your jar over here. Leave that one there.
Over here, Jake.
Grandma.
See, that caught that drip already. Now the question is the counter too hot for him to get a hold of the lid? Here's the lid. Your mom will hold the jar, put the lid, and he doesn't have the knack.
There you go. Got it on place. Yes, you did. Good job.
On goes the front label. Turn it over. The rear label.
There you go. Tell Father.
You're welcome. Okay, here's the
Okay,
last
sis.
one.
We don't want to go? We don't want to door? We want to look for one?
Well, well, maybe you'll do it if your mom does it for you. Is that all right? Okay. You think you can lift the gate?
Oh,
You do the gate. She holds the jar. Just trying to make it perfectly comfortable, safe, whatever. Well, I think he's moved the jar around. The important thing is to have it. Miss Della, aren't you going to hold the jar? Let her hold the jar. Okay. We want to be sure that the jar is where the honey is going to fall. Okay, you want to lift the. Now, when you lift it and you're holding it up, hold this in this direction. Don't just slide it up. All right. Notice that I'm putting pressure on the gate to hold it this way. Okay. If I just let the gate come up, it doesn't stay tight in, and we get honey in places we don't want to have it. Let's move your jar over here now. Move the jar over there. Notice the drip is continuing to fill that jar. Okay, the big deal. The lid. Here's your lid. Here's the front label. You turn it over. Comes the back ingredient label.
No, because you know what? You have to go back to your house because Bella's there. And Mom will be home soon.
Exactly.
Is that okay? You were just at my house yesterday.
There's Ella's jar.
Perfect. You guys got your jar. Oh, nice.
She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be driving 6 white horses when she
Remember that
comes.
song?
She'll be driving 6 white horses when she comes. That's an old one, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Well, we have a little CD with all those songs on it, and we listen to it in the car, so they know that song.
Oh, yeah. The old songs. They did do that. Well, friends and neighbors, did that totally wear you out? Now you need to go home and take a nap? Well, maybe not you, but me. And thank you, Randy, for getting our pictures there.
Thank you very much.
much.
Very good.
Welcome. You're welcome.
And we can't shake hands, but that's, we'll do that next
Yeah,
another time.
no presidential handshakes today.
Oh, you need him.